Let me ask you something. If I gave you $500 right now, cash in your hand, what would you do with it? Most people would say save it, or maybe invest it, pay off a bill, do the responsible thing. But here's what actually happens. Studies show that most people spend unexpected money within 30 days. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they don't care about their future, but because nobody ever taught them what the first move actually is. See, everyone talks about going from 10,000 to 100,000. There are endless videos about investing, compound interest, the stock market, but nobody talks about the hardest part, going from 0 to your first 10,000. Because that journey, it's not about math, it's about psychology, and the rules are completely different. Here's the trap most people fall into. They decide they want to build savings. They feel motivated. They open a budgeting app. They set a goal. They cut out coffee. They meal prep. They cancel Netflix. And for about 2 weeks, it works. Then life happens. A car repair, a birthday dinner, a random Tuesday where everything just feels heavy, and a little online shopping suddenly makes total sense. And just like that, they're back to zero. They blame themselves. They say they have no discipline. They say they're just bad with money. And then they wait for the next fresh start, a new month, a new year, a new paycheck to try again. But here's what's really going on. They weren't following the wrong budget. They were playing the wrong game entirely. Getting to your first 10,000 is not a budgeting problem, it's a design problem. And once you understand that difference, everything changes. Think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to lose weight. You could rely on willpower alone, every single day waking up and deciding to eat well and exercise. Or you could design your environment so the healthy choice is the easy choice. You keep fruit on the counter, you sleep in your gym clothes, you throw out the junk food. Same result, completely different experience. Building your first 10,000 works the same way. Most people try to save what's left over after spending. The money comes in, the bills get paid, the fun stuff happens, and then if anything remains, it goes to savings. But that model has a fatal flaw. There's almost never anything left, because spending expands to fill available income. It always has, it always will. That's just how human psychology works. The fix is so simple it almost sounds too easy. You flip the order. Money comes in, you move the savings first, then you live on what's left. This is called paying yourself first, and it's been around forever, but most people hear it and think it sounds nice, without actually doing it, because the way they do it matters enormously. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. The moment your paycheck hits, an automatic transfer moves a fixed amount, even if it's just £50, into a separate account. Not your main account, a different one, ideally at a different bank, one where the money is just slightly inconvenient to access. Why inconvenient? Because your brain needs a small barrier, not a huge one, just enough friction to interrupt the impulse. When money is one tap away, it gets spent. When it requires logging into a different app, most people just don't bother. That tiny design decision is worth more than any budget spreadsheet you'll ever make.
Now, let's actually walk through the roadmap, because going from 0 to $10,000 isn't one move, it's 4 distinct stages, and each one has a different goal and a different psychological challenge. Stage 1, the first $1,000. This is the hardest stage, not because $1,000 is a lot of money, but because nothing feels real yet. You save $200 and it still feels like zero. You save $400 and it still feels meaningless. This is what psychologists call the threshold effect. Below a certain number, savings don't feel like savings. They feel like a temporary holding spot before the next emergency. The goal of stage 1 is pure momentum. You're not trying to get rich, you're trying to prove to yourself that it's possible. So the number has to feel achievable, fast. The strategy here is aggressive and temporary. For 60 to 90 days, you find every source of extra cash you can. Sell things you don't use, pick up a few extra hours if possible, cut 1 or 2 significant expenses just for this short window. Treat it like a sprint, not a marathon. Sprints are psychologically easier because there's an end date. Get to $1,000 as fast as you can. That number matters because it's the first time the savings feel real. Stage 2, $1,000 to $3,000. This is where most people quietly give up, and almost nobody talks about why. You've done the hard work, you have $1,000 saved, and then, out of nowhere, something comes up. A medical bill, a car problem, a flight home for a family thing, and you drain the account. Back to zero. Here's the insight. That's not failure. That's exactly what that money was supposed to do. Your first $1,000 is not an investment. It's not a down payment. It's an emergency buffer. It exists so that when life happens, you don't go into debt. The psychological trap at stage 2 is thinking your savings just disappeared. It didn't. It worked. It protected you. Now you rebuild. Once you understand that, once the buffer becomes a normal, expected part of your financial life, stage 2 gets much easier. You're not saving for the first time anymore. You're rebuilding something you already know how to build. The goal of stage 2 is to hit $3,000 with stability. That means your income and your automatic transfers are aligned. Your expenses are genuinely under control, and you've survived at least one setback without going backwards. Stage 3, $3,000 to $7,000. This is where something interesting happens. The anxiety starts to quiet down. For most people, having $3,000 to $5,000 in the bank is the first time in their adult life they've genuinely felt financially safe. Not rich, not set, but safe. And that feeling changes your behavior in ways you don't even notice at first. You make better decisions at work because you're not operating from desperation. You negotiate better because you have a small cushion to fall back on. You stop taking on bad financial decisions, a bad loan, an overpriced purchase, just because you feel like you have no choice. Money gives you options, and options change how you think. At stage 3, the strategy shifts from aggressive saving to sustainable rhythm. You're not sprinting anymore. You're building a system. Your automatic transfer becomes non-negotiable, like a bill you simply pay. And here's a move most people skip. Every time your income increases, even by a small amount, you increase the transfer too, before you get used to the extra money. Psychologists call this lifestyle creep, the natural tendency to spend more as you earn more. The antidote is to act before the upgrade happens. Stage 4, $7,000 to $10,000. By now, you know how this works. The mechanics are in place, the psychology has shifted, the account grows every single month without you having to think about it. Stage 4 is really about finishing what you started, and this is where one more psychological trick helps enormously. Make the goal visible. When humans can see progress, they're more likely to continue. This is why progress bars exist. It's why video games have experience points. Seeing the number move from 7,400 to 7,900 to 8,500 creates genuine momentum. Screenshot it, write it down, watch it grow. Your brain responds to visible progress the same way it responds to a win, and wins create motivation to keep going.
Here's the deeper truth about this entire roadmap. Your first $10,000 is not really about the money, it's about identity. Most people who struggle financially don't think of themselves as savers. They think of themselves as people who are trying to save, which means they're always one decision away from quitting. But somewhere around $5,000 or $6,000, something quietly shifts. You start to think of yourself differently. You become someone who has savings, who manages money, who makes decisions with the future in mind. And that identity changes everything that comes after. The investments you make, the risks you're willing to take, the way you talk about money with the people around you. It all flows from that foundational sense of who you are financially. This is why the $0 to $10,000 roadmap is the most important financial journey you'll ever take. Not because of the amount, but because of what it proves to you about yourself. So, here's what you actually do. Step 1. Open a separate savings account today. Not tomorrow, not this weekend, today. Ideally at a different bank than your main account. Step 2. Set up an automatic transfer for whatever amount you can genuinely commit to. Even £25. The number matters less than the habit. Step 3. Sprint to your first $1,000 as fast as you can. Sell something, cut something, earn something extra, just for 60 days. Step 4. Expect setbacks. Build your emergency buffer and let it do its job without guilt. Step 5. Increase your transfer every single time your income increases before you get used to the extra. That's it. That's the entire roadmap. There's a version of you, 1 or 2 years from now, who looks back at this moment as the turning point. Not because you discovered some secret investment strategy, not because you got lucky, but because you stopped waiting for perfect conditions and just started. $10,000 sounds like a big number until it's sitting in your account, and then it just feels like the beginning. The people who build real wealth aren't smarter than you. They're not more disciplined than you. They just started the roadmap earlier.
And they kept going when it got boring, because boring is exactly what building wealth looks like from the outside. If this clicked for you, there's a lot more where this came from. The psychology of money is one of the most fascinating and practical things you can study, and we're just getting started.